Hello everyone, welcome to the first lesson of Module 1. Module 1 consists of 5 lessons where you will learn a basic structure for writing primary school English compositions. In this module, you will learn a basic composition writing made simple framework. This is a step-by-step structure that you can follow to write a piece of composition. I will guide you through each step of the framework so that you know how to write a composition from the introduction to the body and to the conclusion. In this lesson, lesson 1, we will focus on writing the introduction. There are many ways that you can begin a composition. I'm sure you have learned some ways in school. Some common ways to write an introduction are you begin with speech, for example, begin with a sound, begin with weather descriptions, begin with character descriptions, begin with a flashback, which is more common in upper primary. Now, in this composition writing made simple framework, I am going to teach you a very simple way to write the introduction for any composition, right? And I call this the character-focused introduction. To write a character-focused introduction, ask yourself these 4 questions. Who is the character in the story? What was he or she doing at the beginning of the story? How was he or she feeling at the beginning of the story, and why? Let's take a look at this example. Now look at this picture. If you were given this picture, how can you write an introduction for this story? First of all, ask yourself, who is the character in the story? For example, let's give him a name, Jason. What was Jason doing at the beginning of the story? Now he was walking to school, right? How was he feeling at the beginning of the story? He could be feeling happy. Why? Why was he so happy? Now give a reason. For example, it was the last day of school and they were going to have a party in class. Now, to help you write a character-focused introduction, I have come up with this acronym SAFE. Can you guess what SAFE, S-A-F-E, stands for? SAFE stands for Speech, Actions and Feelings. Now, I'm going to show you how to use SAFE to write a character-focused introduction. In fact, I like to tell my students that this is a safe way to write an introduction, especially when you do not know what to write. So how can we use SAFE to write an introduction? Now, S-A-F-E, S stands for speech. We can begin this introduction with a direct speech. For example, "Bye, Mom. See you after school," Jason said as he got off the car. Now we move on to the next acronym A, which stands for actions. Ask yourself, what could the character be doing at the beginning of the story? For example, he waved goodbye to his mother and walked towards the school gate. So you can see actions here, waved goodbye, walked towards the school gate. So when you are writing actions, you use verbs, alright? Try to use vivid verbs in your description of actions. Now we move on to FE, which stands for feelings. In fact, F can stand for feelings, E can be emotions, alright? So they mean the same thing. So FE stands for feelings. So think about the feelings of the character at the beginning of the story. How was the character feeling? For example, Jason was in high spirits as it was the last day of the term and they were going to have a party in class. Now let's read this introduction from the beginning. It goes like this. "Bye, Mom. See you after school," Jason said as he got off the car. He waved goodbye to his mother and walked towards the school gate. Jason was in high spirits as it was the last day of the term and they were going to have a party in class. So in this very simple example, I have shown you how you can use SAFE, SAFE, to write a character-focused introduction. Once you are used to using SAFE to write your introduction, you can add in more direct speech, more actions, and more feelings. But for the sake of just giving you a clear example now, I have come up with this short paragraph. You can see that we begin this composition with a direct speech, followed by some actions, and we have also described the feelings of the character. So this is how you can write a character-focused introduction. Let's look at another example. Now in this example, the topic given is an unforgettable incident. Can we use SAFE to write the introduction? Ask yourself, what were the character's speech, actions, and feelings at the beginning of the story? For example, "Hurry, Dad," I shouted. This is a direct speech. I pulled my father towards the roller coaster. Actions here. My family and I were at the Universal Studio for the first time. I was quivering with excitement. So that's your feelings. And I could not wait to try out all the rides. So there you go, a very simple introduction using SAFE, S-A-F-E, speech, actions, and feelings. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to always go in the order of speech, actions, and feelings. Let's look at this example. Hurry, Dad. You begin with speech. I shouted in exuberance. You have a feeling here. I pulled my father impatiently towards the roller coaster. My family and I were at a Universal Studio for the first time. I was quivering with excitement and could not wait to try out all the rides. As you can see, the sequence is speech, feelings, actions, feelings, and feelings. So we have rearranged them. Instead of speech, actions, and feelings, now we have speech, feelings, and actions, and followed by feelings again. So this is what I mean. You can rearrange S, A, and F, E in any order. As long as you have all three in your introduction, you will be fine. Let's look at example 3. Tom, go and do your homework now. So we begin with speech again. My mother hollered. I rolled my eyes and frowned. Now this is a description of the character's feelings, but it can also be considered as actions, right? Reluctantly, I shut down the computer and took out my homework. Actions here. Feeling miserable, I opened the window to get some fresh air. Feelings and actions. Let's look at example 4. Ben dashed out of his classroom like a prisoner set free. So we begin with an action for this composition instead of direct speech. Finally, it's recess. The direct speech is here at the second sentence. He muttered, quickening his steps as he approached the canteen. Okay, this is an action here. Joining the queue at the chicken rice store, another action. Ben glanced at his watch impatiently. A feeling here. What have we learned in this lesson? Let's recap. This is a very simple lesson on writing a character-focused introduction using speech, actions, and feelings. Remember SAFE. Include speech, actions, and feelings in your introduction. I'm sure many of you have learned how to begin a composition with speech or dialogue. But many students have told me that after writing that first sentence of direct speech, they do not know how to continue. So SAFE is in fact a great way for you to write an introduction. After writing your direct speech, you can move on to describe the character's actions and feelings. Now you can use SAFE in any order, right? You can begin with speech. If you are not good at beginning with speech or the story doesn't make sense if you begin with speech, you can begin with what the character was doing, his actions, or you can also begin the introduction with how the character was feeling. Now, a word of caution. In primary school composition, try not to write too many direct speech or dialogue. 1 to 2 speech in a paragraph is more than enough, right? Especially if you are in the lower primary. So I hope you have learned something in this lesson. Try out the assignment at the bottom of this video, print it out, and try writing some introductions using SAFE, SAFE. So have fun writing. Thank you. Bye.